as important as that sounds, he actually winds up being a relatively minor character, and the story goes in much bigger places from here in what stretches a 1,000-year tale. Now, I want to mention a couple of extra things here. So, I did mention briefly that there are successive endings there. If you simply follow the main objectives until credits roll, you will get the bad ending. There are two others. They all kind of build off of each other. So when you get the bad ending, you can then load that save, be given pretty direct hints about what to do to get the next ending, which is the normal ending, and then once you do that one and load that save, you can do a bit more work yet and finally get the true ending. And then once you get the true ending done, you can load that save back up and go gather up anything you happen to have missed. Now, the problem with this game's story, so to speak, is that most of it isn't like super engaging. That's the kind of game where you're really more in it for the gameplay more so than the narrative, I'll admit. But I think that's especially noteworthy here because almost all of the interesting stuff happens between the bad ending and the true ending, and I think that's a shame for a game that has a good chunk of it before that point. Especially since once people roll credits, and if they don't like the ending, there's a good chance they won't play it through to get the other two endings to begin with, and it's just a bit of a weird structure where, again, all of the good stuff is right at the end, and because of the way it's put forward, a lot of people might not even see it. And then what you're left with is a pretty generic sort of JRPG storyline where you're trying to save the kingdom by making sure this magic is sustainable in the long term when the princess starts having problems and all this sort of usual stuff. And I just think it's a shame that the most interesting parts are the last couple of hours after a mostly kind of middling story throughout.